Hello everyone, this is Jumbo Commander, and today we have another deck tech featuring the Commander, Hanna, Ship's Navigator. Let's take a look at Hanna, Ship's Navigator in both of her majestic arts. The old one is so awesome and cheesy, and the new one is just gorgeous. But let's look at that ability. One, a white and a blue for casting cost, and for her ability, tap return target artifact or enchantment card from your graveyard to your hand. Let's find out what kind of deck Hanna, Ship's Navigator, can captain. Hanna, Ship's Navigator has a lot of value attached to her because she's all about recursion. It's the ability to just keep recycling those artifacts and enchantments over and over again. This is not a fast process. It requires a tap, requires two different colors. It's pretty slow. I think that this lends itself to a control strategy where you can kind of grind out card advantage over and over again. I think it means that we're going to need a lot of draw abilities and also a lot of answers to everything. And then when we do have finishers, they're going to be really few and far between. In fact, control decks often rely on sort of big combo finishers. And I think that this is how Hanna, Ship's Navigator's deck tech is going to take place. Some value, some control elements, and some sweet, sweet finishers. Now I had some inspiration for this deck, and it was Kaladesh, the cool new artifacts that were coming out. Padim found a spot in this deck. She could give my artifacts hexproof and also maybe a little bit of card advantage. But the card I was really excited about was Inventor's Fair. You might have heard me gushing about this card earlier because it's worth it. It comes into play untapped. It's legendary. Amazing! You gain a life and then you can go search for an artifact to make your combo, to fill everything, to get exactly what you want, a board wipe, a creature. Oh, I love Inventor's Fair. Actually, the reason why I wanted to make this deck was for the Gear Hulks. I wanted to keep recurring Gear Hulks over and over again, but then I didn't include them in the deck. Now, this might be a mistake, I don't know, but I shoehorned the Gear Hulks in. I just put them in there right as I started building, and then I realized that they didn't really fit at all. See, Hanna wants a lot of artifacts and enchantments, and so I had things like artifact lands, I had things that wanted metalcraft, and the Cataclysmic Gear Hulk would just destroy my artifacts. In fact, I didn't have very many creatures, and so it was really hindering me. I would have much rather had a board wipe than this Gear Hulk in there, even though I had the ability to recur them. Also, I wanted all of my abilities on artifacts and on enchantments. I would take an Oblivion Ring over an Oblation over and over again, so Torrential Gear Hulk just didn't fit at all. My instants were very, very few and far between. So I made the deck just to put in these two Gear Hulks, and I ended up leaving them out. Now, I think that you could make a deck that fits them really well, but in this deck, I'm sorry guys, you just didn't make the cut. Recursion is the name of the game. So the first element of recursion has got to be Hanna, Ship's Navigator. She's great, and she's just going to recur everything on a stick. Trading Post and Academy Ruins can also get artifacts back, and they have some added value. I mean, Trading Post makes goats. Let's not belittle the goat making. And Academy Ruins is a land, so the downside is really, really low. Scarecrow can also return an artifact creature card from your graveyard to play. Wow! It also is sacrifice itself or another Scarecrow, if we don't include other Scarecrows, to draw a card. So she's just a great sort of little engine and can get an artifact creature from your graveyard to play. Love it. And then Sun Titan as well is great at recursion. Sun Titan can recur Scarecrow. Hey, we got it. Can also recur stuff like Commander Sphere. Draw cards. Aura of Silence can get that back. Or just something like a fetch land. Man, Sun Titan is so good. There's another card that's pretty good at recurring things. I don't know if you've... Oh, it's open. The Vaults. For white, return all artifact and enchantment cards from all graveyards to the battlefield under their owner's control. Okay, this can be a disaster, giving everyone their stuff back, but it can also just win the game for you. It's a really sweet card, and I love playing it in decks like this. You can also consider a card like Replenish, which just gets your enchantments back. Argivian Archaeologist and Argivian Find. Both of these do a great imitation of Hanna. They can go in a lot of different decks because they're only white. So if you want to do these kinds of packages that I'm describing but not fully commit to Hanna as your Navigator, these cards could really go in your deck. So one thing we need to do is get some cards into our graveyard to recur. So something like Reshape or Transmute Artifact can get an artifact into the graveyard and get another one out of your library and onto the battlefield. Great synergy for moving artifacts around and gaining a lot of value. Another great way to get cards in the graveyard is by drawing cards. Intuition, Fact or Fiction, and Thirst for Knowledge are great card draw abilities. Intuition particularly gets you whatever cards you want. And if something good happens to end up in the graveyard, so what? You just get it back. This actually transitions us very nicely into our next segment, which card draw. Commander Sphere and Mind Stone produce mana to ramp you when you need it, and then draw cards when you don't need the mana. And you can get them back. Ichor Wellspring. Get a card when you play it, get a card when it ends up into your graveyard, recur it back, get a card when you play it, get a card when it goes to your graveyard, recur it. It's awesome. Shrine of Piercing Vision. Now, I kind of forgot that there were other shrines besides Shrine of Burning Rage. I have such Shrine Tunnel Vision. But Shrine of Piercing Vision is pretty cool. Basically, it builds up counters, and then you can look at the top X and then put one of them into your hand. Pretty good artifact that lets you put it into its graveyard and lets you select a card that you want. I think I'll play it. You can also draw spells with Aether Spellbomb. It also has a secret mode of returning target creature to its owner's hand. You know, I'm a little bit tired of drawing so few cards. How about Memory Jar? I want to draw a whole new hand, and then I want to get it back, and I want another hand after that. Now I know, Memory Jar, into more Memory Jar, into things in the graveyard, and recurring it back. It gets you a lot of card advantage, but sometimes you need to find specific answers. And so we have Tezzeret the Seeker. He will seek through your deck and find those great artifacts you need, along with untapping artifacts to give you that boost in mana advantage you really need. We now have our all-star finder, Trinket Mage. And also to a lesser extent, Artificer's Intuition, but really Trinket Mage. Tell me, what can Trinket Mage find? Well, he can find these artifact lands, he can find another artifact land, he can find your Soul Ring, especially if you have a Kaladesh Awesome Golden Soul Ring. But really, what does he find? He finds Claws of Gix? Yes. Sacrifice a permanent, you gain 1 life. This is all just about sacrificing a permanent. That's what the whole combo is all about, and Claws of Gix are really cool. We're going to get into them in a little bit, but also can find stuff like Sensei's Divining Top, which is also part of our combo. Well, we keep talking about combos. Don't worry. We'll get there. This is a control deck. Let's try and get some control going on. Martyr's Bond. Whenever something of yours goes away, you guys have to have something go away too. Well, it's funny, I thought that's something we just had. Karmic Justice. You target my thing, I'm gonna destroy one of your things. Aura of Silence. I'm gonna tax you, and then I'm gonna sacrifice Aura of Silence to destroy target artifact or enchantment, and then I'm gonna recur it back, because I'm a bad person. Oblivion Ring is great in this deck. I mean, sure, Crux of Fate and things like Detention Sphere are also really good, but I really want to focus on the Oblivion Ring specifically. The reason why Oblivion Ring is great is because it has these 2 specific triggers on the card. An ETB trigger and a Leaves the Battlefield trigger. So how do we abuse this? Well, we abuse it by using the stack to our advantage. So Oblivion Ring enters the battlefield. Great! We get a trigger. It says exile something. Okay, we can keep that trigger on the stack. We don't have to exile something right off the bat. We have time to react. And I suggest we react by maybe Claws of Gixing the Oblivion Ring, so the Oblivion Ring goes away, and now there's a new trigger. It said, hey, Oblivion Ring left, give it back. Alright, we're going to resolve the give it back trigger, but there's nothing to give back because here is the exile something trigger still in the stack, so when we exile something, it's gone for forever. Oh, and by the way, then we just get the Oblivion Ring back again, and do it over and over again, because it's just great. Some control strategies are going to run a lot of defense, like Solitary Confinement, Norin's Annex, Sphere of Safety, Ghostly Prison, and Propaganda. These can be very powerful. You can pick and choose whatever combination you'd like to make your deck exactly the way you want it. Navigator's Disc and Oblivion Stone wipe the board, but you can get them back again with a lot of your sweet recursion abilities. Now we're trying to exert control over our opponents. Why don't we just take it one step further and take control of their whole turn? Mindslaver is an artifact that we can recur with enough mana over and over again and just keep taking people's turns. I love this effect. Everyone that has this played against them hates this effect, which makes me love it just a little bit more. I want to talk a little bit about World Queller and Smokestack. This is a strategy that definitely works. It's the stacks tax category. And Blue-White does a great job of it, and there's some miserable taxation and stacks type decks that just keep having your opponents sacrifice things, and you're sacrificing an Ichor Wellspring and getting it back. I didn't implement this particularly in this deck tech, but you should know that this is an angle that you can build this deck if you so choose. Going Infinite. Grand Architect is wonderful because you can tap an untapped blue creature you control and add 2 mana for artifact spells and artifact abilities. And Grand Architect is just like a really great mana dude, but also he lets your other guys be mana dudes as well. And he's kind of an anthem. He does it all. It also looks like he's leading the Imperial Senate, so that's good too. But when you combine him with a little... Oh, we have another Scarecrow! We have more than one Scarecrow in this deck, guys. Billy Bala! This Scarecrow has a really cool ability, which is to untap, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Wait, this is fun. So, turn it blue. Grand Architect can say, tap to produce mana, and then it can use its own abilities to untap, and then create another mana. So this just goes infinite with itself. Taps itself, uses its own ability, untap, make a mana. Tap itself with Grand Architect, use the 2 mana, untap itself, make another mana. But ciao, it just goes off, making tons and tons of mana, going super infinite. Power Artifact goes really well with Grim Monolith and Basalt Monolith. Basically, this reduces their untap ability by 2, allowing you to go infinite. Power Artifact also can be searched up by Muddle the Mixture. And wait, Grim Monolith can also be searched up by Muddle the Mixture. And Pilipala can, and a lot of other things. So Muddle the Mixture is definitely going to find a spot in here. Power Artifact can also help you power up other cool artifacts in here, but really it's here to go infinite. Rings of Brighthearth. We knew we were gonna run the rings because we're already running Basalt Monolith, and they go infinite together. Just a quick description. We tap the Basalt Monolith and it produces 3 mana. Now, we can't copy that because that is a mana ability. You know, rings don't trigger. But we pay 3 and untap Basalt Monolith. Then the rings are like, ooh, is that an activated ability that I can copy? And then you say, why yes, Rings of Brighthearth, I would like to copy that. You throw 2 more mana in the system to get a copy of that untapped Basalt Monolith. Now, a few quick taps in between and suddenly we've generated 1 mana! And we can just keep going over and over again and producing more and more mana with Rings of Brighthearth. But that's a really boring way to use the rings. How about we use them on a fetch land to get another land? Oh, how about we use them on Secluded Steppe to get another card? That's right, cycling is an activated ability as well. There are so many cool activated abilities in this deck. Rings is just gonna go crazy with value. I'm so excited. We need some finishers in our control deck, and let's just go for some super sweet combo finishers. First up, we have Enchanted Evening. Ah, look at the wonderful evening. All permanents are enchantments in addition to their other types. So what do we do with everything being an enchantment? We take it all! Just imagine me, I'm flexing like this guy is right now, but with way less muscles. But surprisingly, my wings are larger. This illusion will go into the graveyard and gain control of all enchantments. This is just a super fun combo that doesn't have a lot of synergies. We can't always fetch up creatures, we can't always sacrifice this Aura Thief, but I really want this in my deck. We were talking about Enchanted Evening, what else can we do with it? How about Opalescence? So Enchanted Evening makes everything enchantments, Opalescence makes all enchantments creatures. So this immediately kills all the lands and makes everything into a creature that you can then just battle with. I'm so excited about this combo because it doesn't just end the game in your favor, it actually just causes this new little mini game to erupt where everyone's just attacking with all of their permanents that are now creatures. We're not done. We have a little bit more with Enchanted Evening and Opalescence. What happens if we throw in a Humility, where everything's an enchantment, then everything's a creature, then everything loses all abilities and is a 1/1 creature? Actually, guys, we're getting into the realm of layers here and whether the card remembers being what. Actually, it matters a lot what order you play all of these cards in. So just pay attention and have the internet available for when you play them in a weird order and suddenly everything's dead or a weird 1/1 enchantment. But this is going to be spectacular. Parallax Tide and Parallax Wave, they're just great control cards, actually. You want enchantments that are going to be able to be recurred, and Parallax Wave can take out a bunch of creatures, and Parallax Tide can be a huge taxing effect on your opponents. But then you throw Opalescence into the mix, and suddenly things get a little bit weird. Let's use Parallax Wave as an example. This is going to be very similar to the Oblivion Ring discussion we had, so I'm going to go a little bit faster. I'm going to take the stack over there, and I'm going to put an activated ability that's on Parallax Wave that says, Exile a dude. Actually, we get a ton of these. Let's exile another dude. Again, these are both activated abilities that are staying on the stack, and Parallax Wave has plenty of fading counters, so we can do this a lot, until we decide we want to stop, in which case we exile the wave itself. Now remember, because of Opalescence, Parallax Wave is a creature, so it can target itself, and it's exiled. Now as soon as it leaves the stack, it says, hey, give it all back. That's a trigger. It's gone, and it's like, hey, everything needs to come back. So as soon as that resolves off the stack, Parallax Wave comes back with a fresh 5 fading counters on it, but the stack is not empty. There are still 2 Exile a Dude activated abilities on the stack, which means we have to resolve them, and those guys are exiled forever. They are not tied to this brand new Parallax Wave. Those exile effects are tied to a random magical Parallax Wave that is now in the ether somewhere. You can see that that's a very powerful interaction. And of course, you don't have to actually exile things forever with Parallax Wave. You can use it as it's intended and just exile it for a little bit of time and then get everything back. In fact, if you really wanted to, you could use this same trick slightly augmented. Basically, you let some of those remove the creature activated abilities resolve and then get rid of the Parallax Wave, so then all the creatures come back to get infinite ETB effects from your own creatures. Oh, that could be pretty good. Now, Parallax Tide can be backbreaking because it does it with lands. But as you can see, if Parallax Tide is a creature, well, it can't exile itself. It can only exile lands, so Parallax Tide is definitely less powerful when combined with Opalescence. Next up, we have a particularly interesting combo that deals with Dance of Many, this very weird double blue enchantment from the dark. Let's look at the Oracle. This is an enchantment, and when it enters the battlefield, well, you create a token of something else on the battlefield. Alright. When Dance of Many leaves the battlefield, you exile the token, and when the token leaves the battlefield, you gotta sacrifice this enchantment. It also has a blue upkeep cost. Now, why are we have all these restrictions? Why are we playing this card that is so inflexible and so old and complicated? Well, it's because all of these are triggers, and as we learned with this deck, we can abuse triggers. With Dance of Many, the best way is with Sun Titan and Claws of Gix. Let's go ahead and go into more detail about that interaction. So here's our battlefield with our sweet playmat. Let's start off with Claws of Gix and Sun Titan on the battlefield. In fact, let's imagine that Sun Titan got the Claws of Gix back from our graveyard. Oh, the synergies. Alright, then we play Dance of Many, and the Oracle magically appears on the bottom of the screen. So when Dance of Many comes in, the stack appears, and on the stack it says, hey, make a token. Great. What we're going to do is we're going to keep that make a token trigger on the stack, and we're going to use Claws of Gix to pachow, gain a life, and get rid of Dance of Many. So as Dance of Many leaves, we get a new trigger that says exile the token. Alright. We're going to do what it says, and we're going to exile the token that doesn't exist yet. Then we're going to go ahead and make that token. Guess what? We're making a Sun Titan token. And as soon as that Sun Titan token comes into play, it has its own trigger that says, you should recur something. And what are we going to recur? But the Dance of Many back again. And that Dance of Many has another trigger that we put onto the stack. So we end up with an infinite number of Sun Titan tokens on the battlefield, which is very, very cool. I just wouldn't want to do that on Magic Online. But we're not done with Dance of Many. We have another very simple combo. How about Opalescence? Dance of Many enters the battlefield. It says, make a copy of a creature. Guess what's a creature? Dance of Many. So it makes a token, and then that enters the battlefield and says, hey, make a token. What's a creature? Dance of Many. And you keep doing it over and over again, so you have infinite tutus until you decide, I guess I'll make a copy of this Opalescence creature over there. Future Sight is a very good enchantment that gives us tons of card advantage, but when we combine it with Sensei's Divining Top and Ethereum Sculptor, we can just draw our entire deck. It's pretty awesome. You tap the Sensei's Divining Top to draw a card and put it back on top, and then with Future Sight you can play it directly off the top for free with the discount of Ethereum Sculptor. All of these cards would go really nicely in our deck anyways, so it's great to have them work so well together. Enchanted Evening is back again, guys. I thought we used up all the combos with Enchanted Evening. What are we going to do with all of our permanents being enchantments? Play Oratog! Let's go all in on Oratog. Let's sacrifice all of our lands and everything, and let's make Oratog win. Alright everyone, that was Hanna Ship's Navigator, and she's a badass as we can see. I really liked her. She gives a lot of the control elements. Basically, if we give her enough time, she can take over a game, and also, she can create the recursion needed for some of those really cool combo finishes that I thought were definitely interesting and pretty complicated to navigate, which can be really fun in a game of EDH. Blue-white is a great color combination for control, and I think that the artifacts and enchantment synergies also go really well together to give you some interesting controlling gameplay. This has been a Jumbo Commander deck tech. Thank you so much for watching. If you like the video, or if you're just a nice person, please consider subscribing or liking the video, sending it to a friend. I'd also love to talk to you in the comments below. Have a good one, guys.